It's another undershirt night, right? It's been a long day, guys. Welcome to the show. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully you are too. My name's Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God, a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. Not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. Just here to talk about God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, Christianity, the Bible. Talk about a wide variety of issues, topics, and current events, and give you my perspective on them. One that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. Been a Christian all my life, 40 years, non-denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. Just in the Word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Many times I'll get it wrong. But either way, if you tune in here and I'm streaming, you're going to get, daggone it, my honest takes. I hate it when my computer resets and I don't know about it and I don't pick up on it. Luckily, I have luckily I have a good chat here looking out for me to let me know when my audio sounds like dog mess. Anyway, if you're new to Christianity, if you're looking to learn more about Jesus, maybe try to figure out what the faith is all about, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Hopefully what you get out of this will launch you into a relationship with God. Hopefully you will find what you're looking for, because it is what you're looking for. And you'll be able to move forward and past me, maybe. Look, you don't have to be super smart to know more about the Bible than I do. I just try to do it best. Try to do it my best. And maybe you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and conversations, in which case I'm glad you're here as well. But either way, whether you are new to Christianity, just looking at it, and wanting to learn a little bit more about it, or you've been one longer than I have, know more about it than I have, doesn't matter. I encourage you to get into this chat, right? The chat is great. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's very relaxed, very casual, very open and informal. Just want to hear your opinions on things, your thoughts on things, because I'm definitely going to give you mine, right? So with that said, it's been a day. Not a bad day, just a busy day. It's tiring, very tiring. Got to stop at Sonic on the way, though. That's great. But I think I'd mentioned earlier this week that one of my in-laws' TVs has gone kaput. So on my way home, met my father-in-law at Best Buy and picked up a TV. Brought it home, and set that up and programmed everything. So now, you gotta reprogram all the streaming services. You gotta sign into Roku. You gotta do all that other stuff. And great, that's all set up. Interesting thing that happened on the ride home was, so we're driving down this road. It's a country road, your typical country road, spinning a little bit. We are smart enough, though, in some aspects, that at some point we put small roundabouts we have put a couple of small roundabouts at some high traffic intersections on these country roads. And we were approaching one, and the guy 2 cars ahead of me stopped and put his car in park. He got out of his car, went over to the car in front of us, and told the lady driving that car exactly how he felt about the following distance she was observing behind him. It involved multiple curse words. It involved him telling her and informing her that he has children in his car. And then he reminded her again that she needed to back off. Older dude. This dude looks like he'd been a farmer all of his life, and he just was not having it. And I saw her look at me in the rearview mirror, and I was like, what do you want me to do? He's just yelling at you. He's getting back in his truck. He's not going to. He's not gonna. He's just telling you to back off. Now the here's the thing. Um, she was incredibly close to him as we were driving down the road. I mean, they were about. I would say they're about 500 feet in front of me as I was driving, and I was driving two ticks over over the speed limit, and I'm not gaining on them, so he's not going under the speed limit, which is fine, which is which is very typical on this road. So he's going at least a couple miles over the speed limit, and she is probably 4 feet 4 feet from his bumper, going down the road at what 47, 48 miles an hour. Older gentlemen, old folks are nervous. Did I say ticks? Or is that somebody else? um he So old people there's some fear in there with them, but not enough fear to keep him inside that car. So should he have gotten out of his car and told her off? Probably not, because when they actually hit the roundabout, they went different ways. But he didn't know that. He was scared. He stopped. He yelled at her. Hopefully she was embarrassed. I hate people who tailgate. Cannot stand it. He had kids in his car. That means they're probably grandkids. He's worried about them. Right. So maybe he could have handled it differently. But tailgaters are a pet peeve of mine. So when she looked at me, I'm like, "What are you looking at me? This isn't my circus or monkeys. I'm just here watching the show." But that was interesting. And my father-in-law was in the car behind me, so we got back. He was laughing. I was chuckling. We got a good scene. He didn't hear what I heard because he was a car back. He was another car back. So it was just something interesting. Interesting. Fear, agitation, anger can make you lose your Christian bearing in a flash. It happens. Keep your anger under control. I say that as somebody who wrestles with that, who has wrestled with that to the extreme. When I was a kid, I was one of the angriest kids you ever met. I was angry for a long time. A lot of anger. I don't know where it is and I don't know where it came from because I'm normally such a happy disposition. Injustices, even small injustices though, bother me. They do. They really eat at me. So I don't like it when I see it. Anyway. All right, let me get into let me see if Nico is first. Welcome, sir. Blaine thank you for stepping in immediately. How can we donate to swap out that tin can of a mic? Well, that was my webcam. StreamYard's defaults to the webcam for some reason when I restart my computer. Veritex, thank you. I'm glad I am streaming tonight. I am tired. What happened yesterday? Oh, yesterday, impromptu gathering with some friends. One of their daughters was having a birthday, and so she wanted all of us to get around and wish her a happy birthday. So we did, and that coincided with my streaming. But again, real life does take a front seat to what I do. So, but I appreciate you all being patient with me. And being some more patient because I was late getting all this done. Kids were late getting to bed, so I have to adjust their bedtimes because school's starting soon. But yes, Veritex, glad to have you here. Matt Felty, what's going on, sir? Maybe just mail me a Post-it note. Yeah, that might work. And then I'd forget about it. Alias is here. Hey, we got a lot of folks piling in this evening. Maybe I should move this. Maybe I should move the start time to 8:45. Good to see you too, Matt. Blaine getting ready for track day. I'd like to see some videos of that, sir. Hopefully you don't have a stupid spoiler on the back of your car. Vertex, that groan sounded like a Romans 8:26 groan. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought. Sometimes I'm at a loss. Sometimes I'm just drained. And it's, like I said, not a bad day, just busy day. And sometimes you just, and it was good. In many ways, it was a good day. Met some people. I went to a place where I used to work, got to see some of my old coworkers that I enjoyed, got to have a lot of laughs and see some guys who were very inspirational to me in a time where I needed that. A time in my life where I needed that. And so it was good to see them and see how everybody was doing and catch up. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Oh, that's where it comes from. Yeah, the groanings too deep for words. Feels like that. I'm old. I'm old, Frodo. I may not look it, but I feel it in my bones. MR, nice new TV, 50-inch Roku brand. Roku's apparently making their own TVs now, so we'll see how it is. Came in 4K, very nice, easy price from Best Buy, $270. And I like the Roku interface. I think it's the best one out there, personally. Amazon's is kind of nice, but it's so slow. It's not responsive. Dresden, what's going on, sir? Blaine says when he says roundabout, he means the place Joe Bob rolled coal in circles. Yeah. And eventually it wore enough into the road that we were able to use it as a roundabout. Veritex said he had children in his car and was cursing up a storm. Yep, sounds about right. I'm exaggerating. Cursing up a storm. I mean, he was using a curse word. He was saying ass. You're right. You're driving too close to my. Get off my ass. That's basically what he's saying. Over and over. He wasn't f-bombing, but it was a lot of angry shouting. And like I said, hopefully she was embarrassed by it because you shouldn't do that. It's not safe. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for the person you hit. Veritex, no, this is Virginia. The roundabouts seem to spread almost as fast as COVID around here. I like them on single lane roads. They are on single lane roads. There's another place that I use a lot that could really use one, but they need to be employed smartly, which is why I'm surprised we're using them at all, because Virginia Department of Transportation is not the most brilliant group in the. All they do is just, let's build something new in Northern Virginia. Is basically what they think. Oh, and let's make the road to Virginia Beach concrete, because that'll last longer. That jobs project lasted forever. It's a TV, and you say you are a Christian. I am. I use boomer words. Did I say 2 ticks? I must have. Veritex, is that 25 mile per hour ticks or I'm sorry, is that 2 5 mile per hour ticks or 2 1 mile per hour ticks? 2 1 mile per hour ticks. I must have said it. Blaine said it's a WRX spoiler for now, S202 eventually. How about no spoiler, bro? Spoiler alert. Alias asks, is donkey still allowed on roads in Virginia? Of course. I haven't seen one, though. We do have some places. I told you about the gentleman that whose family I met when I was at the baseball game. His Andrew Abbott, rookie pitcher for the Reds, is from Lancaster County, Virginia. And Lancaster County, Virginia, Lancaster is very similar to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They do have Amish or Mennonite communities there, and I do see horse and buggies. I wave to them. And I'm polite. We get a lot of tractors going down the road and farm equipment down the road. We have these 2-laners that are perfect, with the outer lane being a straight through and the inner lane meaning you're looping more. Yeah, I think that's great, but I just don't trust other people. I just don't trust other people with that at all. I like it when it's, because even when it's the 1-lane roundabouts, You get the folks who get nervous about them because they've never seen a circle before, and they go, I just have to stop. And I'm sitting there going, no, move. There's a huge red and white triangle that you've seen for years saying yield. That means yield. That means if nobody's there, you keep going. You just roll right through it. Yeah, that's true. True, Blaine. I don't trust on people with stop signs either. I said, I don't drive a slow and fuel efficient Kia. I need my spoiler. 100 octane is expensive. I could chip my car and it's faster than yours. $500 chip reprogram, and I've got 100 horsepower boost. And then all I have to do is give my car a diet. Then what are you going to do? Lose. Lose is what you're going to do, Blaine. Get off my time. I don't have any mules, sir. I don't know. You don't have any mules. What are you talking about? Veritex says, what throws me is when there are multiple roundabouts and some are 2-lane and some are 2-lane. I don't know. They do them in Fredericksburg for some reason, I think just because they think it's cute. Oh, some are 2-lane and some are 1-lane. The 1-lane ones I like because they're very simple. They're very simple. And usually in places where it beats having a stop sign where you may be stuck forever. Visibility is a little bit better too. People do slow down a little bit more. Nico's in the background today. I'm just glad you're here. Man, we got a big crew. All right, so I'll use this moment, probably ill-placed. I probably should have done this at the beginning. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know you guys in the chat have all subscribed because you show up all the time. That's great. Let's get some new people in here. But like the episode, subscribe to it, and tell other people about it. Don't want money, don't want fame and fortune. I just want you to advertise and help grow the community. Bigger than it is right now. I'm getting close to 500. That's some sort of landmark. Maybe I get monetized, maybe not. I don't care. I mean, I wouldn't mind YouTube's money. I don't need y'all's money. We'll send YouTube's money to God. All right, so we finished Nehemiah. And we are going to start with Esther tonight. Esther is an interesting story. It's an interesting account. And I like how it kind of nestles into the Bible where it does, in a place where we've talked about some heavy topics. And this one kind of gets heavy, but in a way, it's a little lighthearted. In the way that the Old Testament, in a way that you would think Old Testament lighthearted would be. And it's going to almost follow a trope where we have a king looking for a queen. But then it starts to get kind of off the rails. Here we go. Blaine, you have any... Just stop. Just stop, Blaine. It's gallows humor. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to the gallows humor. But once he chooses his queen, or his new queen, that's when things start to get a little more interesting. But you've got kind of a Jafar character in here. And we'll see how this all shakes out. But for tonight, we're going to do 2 chapters. Maybe it'll be quick. Maybe it won't be. I'm foreseeing a short episode tonight. However, I've said that before. And there you go. There you go. We end up going an hour and a half. But let's see how we do tonight. Let's be fair. He's much more Muttley than Dirk Dastardly. I think he's Dirk Dastardly. I really do. Well, I'll let the chat decide on how they. We're not going to get to it tonight, but I'll let the chat decide once we wrap up. And once we finish with Esther, the much anticipated Job will be arriving. It's going to be a little bit. It's going to be a few days. So hold your horses. All right. So let's start with Esther. chapter 1, using the Amplified, as we've been doing for the last couple weeks, actually. All right, Banquets of the King, chapter 1. It was in the days of Ahasuerus, Xerxes, who reigned from India to Ethiopia, Cush, over 127 provinces. In those days, when King Ahasuerus, I'm just going to say Xerxes, King Xerxes sat on his royal throne, which was at the citadel in Susa, that was the capital of the Persian Empire. In the 3rd year of his reign, he held a banquet for all his officials and his attendants. The army officers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the officials of the provinces were there in his presence. And he displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his great majesty for many days, 180 in total. 180 days in all. That's quite a party. That's a 6-month affair, guys. When these days were completed, the king held a banquet for all the people who were present at the citadel. Let's have another party. All the people who were present at the citadel in Susa, the capital, from the greatest in importance to the least. A 7-day feast in the courtyard of the garden of the king's palace, because why not? 7 more days. There were curtains, draperies of fine white and violet linen fastened with cords of fine purple linen to silver rings and marble columns. The couches of gold and silver rested on a mosaic floor of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and precious colored stones. Drinks were served in various kinds of golden goblets, and the royal wine was plentiful, in accordance with the generosity of the king. The drinking was carried on in accordance with the law. No one was compelled to drink, for the king had directed each official to his household to comply with each guest's wishes. King Vashti also held a separate banquet for the women in the palace of King Xerxes. Sausage party. Xerxes throwing a sausage party, and the women get a different party. They were charging entry fees to that one, I guess. Women's night. So here we go. Right? Very straightforward. Nothing new. Just a ginormous party. And then a party to close the party. And there you go. Did the Persians eat sausage, or would it have been more cigars? Not sure. But that's not what I was referring to. There's something else. Did I want to say anything else? Nope. I think I got everything. Drinking in accordance to the law. New favorite verse. There you go. It is in reference to those filthy heathens. But if you want to play the game similar to a lot of the evangelical modernists, you can just throw a verse in there with no context and just say, hey, the Bible says this. It's okay. King Vashti's refusal. On the 7th day, the king's heart was joyful with wine and high spirits. That dude was drunk. He commanded Mehuman, Bista, why do we have lots of weird names here? He commanded Mehuman, Bistha, Harbona, Bigtha, Bistha and Bigtha, Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 eunuchs who served in the presence of King Xerxes as his attendants, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing her royal crown, high turban, to display her beauty before the people and the officials, for she was lovely to see. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command, which was delivered to her by the eunuchs. So the king became extremely angry and burned with rage. Sexist. Hey, man. Like, literal, look at me. I'm Hey Man. My favorite one is He-Man. There's no He-Mans in this verse, but there have been in the past, which always makes me happy. Elias said, I didn't hear there was dancing. It's all cool. That's why you don't drink, because if you drink, you might dance, and the Baptists don't like dancing. So Queen Vashti says, don't need no man to tell me what to do. Ain't no man going to tell me what to do. No, King Xerxes of Persia, I'm not going to do what you tell me to. Take your neutered men and go play with them. So Vashti's got an attitude. Well, then the king spoke to the wise men, his bros, who understood the times, asking for their advice. For it was the custom of the king to speak before all those who were familiar with law and legal matters, and who were close to him as advisors: Karshina, Shethar, Admantha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 officials of Persia and Media. I think it's Media, of Persia and Media, who had access to the king and were ranked highest in the kingdom. He said, according to the law, what is to be done with Queen Vashti, because she did not obey the command of King Xerxes, which was conveyed by the eunuchs? And Memucan answered in the presence of the king and the officials, Vashti the queen has not only wronged the king, but also all the officials, royal representatives, and all the people who are in all the provinces of King Xerxes. For the queen's conduct will become known to all women, causing them to look on their husbands with contempt and disrespect. Yep. Yep. Where was that? Since they will say, King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she did not come. This very day, the ladies of Persia and Media, who have heard of the queen's refusal, will speak in the same way to all the king's officials, and there will be plenty of contempt and anger. If it pleases the king, let a royal command be issued by him, and let it be written in the laws of the Persians and Medes, so that it cannot be repealed or modified, that Vashti is no longer to come before King Xerxes, and let the king give her royal position to another who is better and more worthy than she. So when the king's great decree is proclaimed throughout his extensive kingdom, all women will give honor to their husbands, from the great to the insignificant. I grew up in Footloose, George Blaine says. Now, the birth of the red pill. Look, this is this is a men's club right now in this chat. It's very clear. Look, where is Emmanuel Osorio when you need him? He's the one who needs to be here right now. He would be yelling up a storm over this. So, King's like, what do I do about this? I am furious. This woman has embarrassed me. Buddy comes up. He didn't just embarrass you. He embarrassed all of us. You need to make an example of this woman before other women start thinking that they get rights too. There's no, look, King Xerxes. This is king. This is Persia. This isn't 20th century America. There's no 19th Amendment. They don't have any rights. Don't give them any right. Don't look. If you give a mouse a cookie, gonna want a glass of milk. You can't do this. You've got a red line in the sand, and she has crossed this red line. You have got to do something. Excommunicado. Don't come back. They kicked her out on her butt. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's read the second part. This statement advice pleased the king and the officials, and the king did what Memucan proposed. If only Solomon had done this when the women that were tempting him with false gods and idols had tempted him, and he had just kicked them out on their butts. Might be a lot different world today. But he didn't. Can't change the past. In this case, the king did what Memucan proposed. So he sent letters to all the royal provinces, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, saying that every man should be the master and rule in his own home, and that he should speak in the household in the language of his own people. That's biblical, guys. I got in this argument with somebody the other day. This is a command by God. This is the way that God sent it after the fall. Man will reign over woman, and she will struggle with that. And we see that throughout the Bible. And even today, we see people trying to change what it is. He's probably alias, he is probably trucking. So, King Vashti, not the best strategic move for her career as queen, because now she has no career as queen. She is now former queen. She is now the ex-queen. And look, she was very pretty, but apparently not pretty enough. Not pretty enough. And so there you go. So we'll move on to chapter 2. Vashti's successor is sought. After these things, when the wrath of King Xerxes had subsided, he's calmed down, sobered up is probably what it is. He remembered Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. Then the king's attendants who served him said, "Let beautiful young virgins be sought for the king. Let the king appoint administrators in all the provinces of his kingdom, and have them gather all the beautiful young virgins to the citadel in Susa, into the harem, under the custody of Hegai, the king's eunuch." How many eunuchs does he have? Oh, forgot. Veritex said, were they neutered or did they just suffer from Rudius great rat syndrome? I really hope I don't regret doing this, but what is Rudius gray rat syndrome? Is this an anime thing? Blaine, explain this. I need a weeb take. Does say that he is a neat. He's got erectile dysfunction. Yeah, it's an anime ED reference. Oh, you learn something new every day. Yeah, I think the dysfunction is it's probably chopped off. Just my thoughts. I don't know. Eunuchs in the Bible. In the Bible, eunuchs were typically castrated males or those incapable of reproduction due to a birth defect. The purpose of intentional castration was to induce impotence and eliminate sexuality. The Hebrew word for eunuch is sars and is mentioned 45 times in the Old Testament, a couple times tonight already. In the New Testament, eunuch is referred to only in 2 passages, Matthew and Acts. The term also indicates an official who is castrated and put in charge of harems and other duties. There you go. There you go. Blaine says it's called evangelism. Jesus sat with tax collectors and I sit with anime fans. God bless you, Blaine. Do the Lord's work out there. That's okay, Veritex. No, this was funny. This was good. I'm glad you did that. It's a nice departure. Now I know. Let's just call it either Rudius syndrome or gray rat syndrome. But Rudius, I think, Rudius is better. All right. So let's go back here. Let the king appoint administrators in all the provinces of his kingdom and have them gather all the beautiful young virgins to the citadel in Susa, into the harem under the custody of Hegai. This is probably why why a anime reference is appropriate. The king's unit who is in charge of the women, and let their beauty preparations be given to them. Then let the young woman who it pleases the king be queen in place of Vashti. This pleased the king, and he did accordingly. Of course, why would he turn that down? Let's parade beautiful women in front of you and pick which one of them you want to be your queen. Veritex said, it's interesting what is not written is that Vashti admitted her fault and asked for forgiveness from the king. You hear nothing from her, which makes me think nothing of note happened. Yeah, maybe she did, and maybe it was too little too late. Maybe this was to me, what this shows to me probably is this is a pattern of behavior for her, right? Maybe, look, absolute power corrupting absolutely is not limited to men. Vashti's queen, she probably gets what she wants most of the time. Maybe she thought, maybe some of her handmaidens were, some of her handmaidens were like, you don't have to listen to him. You're queen. You're beautiful. You've got him whipped. You do what you want. You don't want to go out there? Tell him you're not going out there. This might have been a power play gone horribly wrong for her. That's okay, Veritex. I read it that way. King Xerxes of Persia calls for the first anime harem marathon in recorded history. Look, Persia's in the Asia. So, I mean, what's wrong with this? And it pleased the king, and he did so accordingly. Make it so. All right. Bear with me here. There was a certain Jew in the citadel of Susa whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been deported from Jerusalem with the captives who had been exiled with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had exiled. He was the guardian of Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter. Or his niece, just say his niece, for she had no father or mother. The young woman was beautiful of form and face, and when her father and mother died, Mordecai took her as his own daughter. All right, so timeline, biblical timeline, Bible book timeline. Where are we at? I think this is some time in between Second Kings, Second Chronicles, and Esther and Nehemiah. Let's see. You got anything clean? I don't want Bible genealogy. Why would I want that? Oh, come on. No. Ah, that's what I'm looking for. No, it's too small. Oh, hang on. No, it's too small. I can't read any of that. That wants me to buy it. I want to buy it. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. Don't care. Oh, stop. Bible study tools. Why do they make things so hard to find? Sorry, guys. Here we go. Let's just bring it. Here we go. Okay. It happens during Ezra. So this is during some of the rebuilding. So when we get to, we're going to have to continually revisit this. Why? Let me pull it up. We're going to pull up another screen. We'll come back. Dick on it. We'll come back to this at other times. I might need to. Here we go. Bookmark this because this is a nice little. All right. So Genesis. So Job, which we're going to read next, happens during around the time of Genesis, right? Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, all around the same time. Then Joshua, then Judges and Ruth, which is right after Judges. First and Second Samuel, we get Chronicles picks up somewhere in there, and First and Second Chronicles is somewhere in there because we're talking. There's a lot of genealogy in First Chronicles. There's a lot of discussion of Saul and whatnot in Second Chronicles. First and Second Kings, we know that's mostly Judah. That's almost exclusively Judah. So during Second Samuel, we get Psalms. And in between, and at the end of Samuel's, we get Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. Because why? Because that's when we're talking about Solomon. Do we get First and Second Kings? Is when we get Joel, Micah, Isaiah, Zephaniah, Habakkuk, and Jeremiah, Jonah, Nahum, Obadiah. This is all going around during the Kings. And Amos and Hosea back during Second Kings, or back during First and Second Samuel. During the captivity, 70 years of exile, during the captivity is when we get Daniel and Ezekiel, and then the return, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, up and during Ezra and Nehemiah. And Esther is somewhere during Ezra. All right. So Veritex says, yeah, that sounds about right because I think Ezra and or Nehemiah mention Xerxes. They do. Both of them do. Also not clear, is this the same Xerxes that was defeated by the Greeks at Marathon, or is it his son? It might not be either. There's a bunch of these guys out there. Depends on the timeline. Anyway. All right. So this is as the return is happening. Bad Genesis joke? Yeah. Don't do that again, Alias. All right. So the king's looking for beautiful virgins. Cut scene to a certain Jew named Mordecai. He has got a niece who has been orphaned by her dead parent. Her parents are dead. They are in the exile. He has had some sort of important position, Mordecai has, and has taken his niece on as his own daughter, who is beautiful of form and face. In other words, good of appearance. No way. There you go. He was the guardian of Hadassah, that is Esther. Hadassah is the Hebrew word meaning myrtle. Let's just call her Esther because the book is called Esther. Now, Esther finds favor. So it came about when the king's command and his decree were proclaimed, and when many young women were gathered together in the citadel of Susa into the custody of Haggai, that Esther was taken to the king's palace and placed in the custody of Haggai, who was in charge of the women. Now, the young woman pleased Haggai and found favor with him, so he quickly provided her with beauty preparations and her portion of food. And he gave her 7 choice maids from the king's palace. Then he transferred her and her maids to the best place in the harem. Esther did not reveal the Jewish background of her people or her family, for Mordecai had instructed her not to do so. Every day, Mordecai, who was an attendant in the king's court, walked back and forth in front of the courtyard of the harem to learn how Esther was getting along and what was happening to her. I would be interested to learn how Esther got wrapped up in this. Was Mordecai doing this for political position? Maybe he was doing this to help effect the return. Maybe this is part of that gap when Ezra was talking about when Darius or Cyrus or Darius is Cyrus, I can't remember. One king says you guys can go back, and then he dies, and another king. No, king says you guys can go back. So they write a letter to him saying, you don't want to do this. So he goes, okay, I changed my mind. You can't rebuild Jerusalem. You can go back, but you can't rebuild Jerusalem. And then all of a sudden, a new king comes in, and they can continue to rebuild. So I wonder if this might have something to do with that. We'll find out. Maybe. Or maybe we won't. All right. Now, when it was each young woman's turn to go before King Xerxes, after the end of her 12 months under regulations for the women, for the days of their beautification were completed as follows: 6 months of oil of myrrh, and 6 months of sweet spices and perfumes, and the beauty preparations for the women. What is this? And you thought it was bad now. Look, you got to wait a year for your woman to put her face on? Then the young woman would go before the king in this way. Anything that she wanted was given her to take with her from the harem into the king's palace. In the evening, she would go in, and the next morning she would return to the second harem to the custody of Shashgaz, the king's unit who was in charge of the concubines. She would not return to the king unless he delighted in her, and she was summoned by name. Now, as for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his own daughter, when her turn came to go into the king, she requested nothing except what Haggai, the king's unit and attendant who was in charge of the women, advised. And Esther found favor in the sight of all who saw her. So Esther was taken to King Xerxes to his royal palace in the 10th month, that is the month of Tebeth, December, January, in the 7th year of his reign. Esther becomes queen. Well, spoiler alert. Now the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she found favor and kindness with him more than all the other virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen. Yes, queen, in the place of Vashti. Then the king held a great banquet, because why not? Party all the time. Esther's banquet for all his officials and his servants, and he made a festival for the provinces and gave gifts in accordance with the resources of the king. Seems like a nice enough guy. And when the virgins, except for the fact he's a heathen, and when the virgins were gathered together the second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Esther had not revealed her family or her people, that is, her Jewish background, just as Mordecai had instructed her. For Esther did what Mordecai told her, just as when she was under his care. She trusted in him. Mordecai is in all respects her dad. And so there you go. Mordecai saves the king. In those days, while Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, we've heard about them, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the door, became angry and conspired to attack King Xerxes. This dude cut our balls off. We got to do something about this dude. We're going to kill him. Conspired to attack King Xerxes, but the plot became known to Mordecai, who informed Queen Esther, and Esther told the king in Mordecai's name. Now, when the plot was investigated and found to be true, both men were hanged on the gallows or impaled on a stake. It is uncertain which method was used. That's the footnote. They were hanged on the gallows, or impaled on stake. Doesn't matter. They was dead. Now, when the plot was, and it was recorded in the book of the Chronicles in the king's presence. So, there you go. It was so special, they wrote it down. They wrote, hey, dear diary, my queen tonight told me that some dude named Mordecai said these guys, two of my eunuchs, my special eunuchs, who are on guard for me, were going to kill me. And it was true. So I had them either hanged or put on a stake or impaled on a stake. Doesn't matter. They're dead. But this is cool. Maybe I'll read about this later. Bye. Who said what? In VeggieTales, Esther, the girl who would be queen, to be more kid friendly, they are sent to the island of perpetual tickling. Yeah. Tickled with that sharp wooden object. Yeek. Anyway, so that's where we're going to leave off. Mordecai saved the king. So we have this family, this Jewish family now is married to the king, and one of them is a servant to the king, and that servant has saved the king's life by exposing a plot to kill him. And there you have it. There you have it. When eunuchs conspire, it's time to get rid of them. All right. It's been a long night. Less than an hour. Not a bad group. Not a bad shot, guys. All right. Let's shut things down. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming by. You're leaving off in the deep tickle? You're gonna play Dave the Diver for a few minutes. I'm going to bed early tonight, guys. I am tired. My kids are tired. I'm tired. My wife's tired. When's next stream? Probably Monday. I'm taking my dad to go see Oppenheimer tomorrow. He's wanted to see it. I've been asking for him to do that when he wants to go. And so finally I asked him again today, and he was like, what is it about tomorrow? And I said, okay, we'll go tomorrow. So we're going to go watch Oppenheimer. Some father-son time, which is good. Guys, take care of your family. Be intentional. There are folks that will just, exist. And, if you involve yourself in their life, that's great. If not, then that's fine with them as well. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not going to tickle my dad especially not during Oppenheimer. He's not ticklish, I don't think. What was I going to say? Family's important. You don't have them forever, and they don't have you forever. So make that time that you do have together important. Make it meaningful, make it memorable, and make sure that you communicate to them how much you care about them, and they should be doing the same for you. But even if they don't, make sure you do. You'll be happier with that. Oh, are there? Great. Why? Why would there be sex scenes in Oppenheimer? It's a 3-hour movie. What the? Sex scenes do not make movies better, guys. I don't know if you guys agree with me here, but they don't. They don't. I don't mind that there's that there is romance implied, romantic entanglements implied. But you don't it's we live in a society. This is the current year. Whatever. It's a meme. The life is a meme, guys. This is ridiculous. But maybe at some point I'll get into a argument with Lofty on Blaine's stream about it. We'll see. Do sex scenes make movies better? They don't. Wholeheartedly, they don't. And with that, I'll end it on that. You guys have a great evening. Alias, John Smoth, always glad when you chime in. Veritax, glad that I'm streaming tonight for you. Blaine, Nico, MR. MR quiet tonight. Dresden. Matt Felty. And I think that's the group. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Thank you guys for making this better. I think you all, if you guys have not read Esther yet, y'all will enjoy this this book of the Bible. It's kind of a fun read. It's kind of a fun read. And it's good to have a fun read leading up to Job. But nice fun read. I hope you guys enjoy it. You guys especially make this better and more enjoyable for the other folks who aren't contributing in the chat, which I don't mind, who are just listening. That's fine. I'm just glad that I'm putting content that you enjoy taking part in or partaking in or consuming, making content that you consume and enjoy consuming it. For those of you guys who are catching this on replay, hope to catch you live sometime. Probably no streaming tomorrow night. We'll see. Everybody's going to bed early. Everybody's going to bed early tonight, so we'll see how rested I am tomorrow. In the meantime, guys, and if I don't talk to you before this weekend, have a nice, safe weekend. I'll see you all guys on Monday when we will continue our readings. I want to see you all back here. Enjoy your weekend. Be relaxed, be productive, be whatever it is. Be at church. Be worshiping God. Do those things. It'll put you in a much better headspace. It worked for me when I walked away from church, not God, but when I walked away from church and I returned, I realized how much of God I was missing in my life because of that. Recenter yourself, refocus on the week ahead, get there, and be good. All right. Good night, and God bless.